Hello, genealogists. This is Craig, and we begin our process of examining genealogical standards as found in the second edition revised of Genealogical Standards, which was produced by the Board for Certification of Genealogists. And this is where I caveat and say I do not represent the Board for the Certification of Genealogists. I am just an associate of the board. I'm not a trustee. I have never been a trustee. However, I believe firmly in the standards and what the Board for Certification of Genealogists means. You will hear this each time that we discuss a standard at the very beginning so that everybody is perfectly clear that you're not going to say, but Craig Scott said. All I'm going to give you is my opinion on the matter, and it's worth about squat. And we'll leave it at that. So today we're going to talk about genealogy standards. Number 6 in standards for documenting. But before I do that, I need to tell you that somehow I've screwed up a little bit. I've been describing this, I think, as what we were discussing as genealogical standards rather than genealogy standards. And the title of the book is Genealogy Standards. So I've gone back and changed everything. So it says genealogy instead of genealogical. I honestly don't know when to use genealogical versus when to use genealogy. I'm more of a genealogical person, but evidently these are genealogy standards. So today we're going to talk about number 6 in standards for documenting, and that's format. Genealogists use humanities-style citations, notes plus bibliography, a style designed for heavy users of manuscript materials. Well, that is not us necessarily, because we also deal in artifacts. They follow 2 guides modeling humanities-style principles and formats. Evidence Explained covers citations for a full array of materials used by genealogists. And the Chicago Manual of Style discusses capitalization, foreign languages, punctuation, and other documentation-related issues. Other styles and systems are not standard for genealogical writing. See glossary for definitions of bibliography, document, verb, and documentation. So why is there evidence explained? Why don't we just use the Chicago Manual of Style? Well, I do have my Chicago Manual of Style here. And I do refer to it on occasion. Now, they're up to 17, but I'm old school. I've stuck with 15 and 16. So sometimes I may bounce back and forth between them. But that said, this is an indispensable reference for a genealogist, regardless of what issue you use. Sometimes I disagree with them, like I'm in a disagreement with them about state abbreviations. I don't like postal abbreviations in the body of my work. I like postal abbreviations when I'm dealing with an address. So somehow that changed between 15 and 16, I think, maybe 17. I don't remember. Maybe that's why I haven't bought 17. But anyway, if you Google the Chicago Manual of Style, the essential guide for writers, editors, and publishers, you'll be able to figure out how to get your own personal copy. I was given the 15th version, the 15th edition by my children for my birthday. Nothing like having children who understand you. My 15th edition is well dog-eared and bookmarked and all that kind of stuff. And usually I don't touch the 16th very much unless I'm disagreeing with the 15th, and I want to see how things might have changed. And that doesn't mean I didn't glance at it, and doesn't mean I don't use it, but I haven't taken the time to bookmark it like I did the 15th edition. Now, Evidence Explained, and of course my copy of Evidence Explained is not within reach, which is rare. I don't know where it is, come to think of it. And it's in multiple editions, but I used the edition that was signed by Elizabeth Shown Mills, thanking me for helping her. What can I say? It's my favorite edition, the one I worked on. But why is there evidence explained? And why before that was the book Evidence? I'm sorry I didn't go pull evidence. The problem is I'm in two different places. And nobody wants 2 copies of Evidence Explained. Although I have probably 20 copies on the shelf out there. So, I mean, it's not far away. The reason is because the Chicago Manual of Style does not help us necessarily as genealogists to identify the things that we talked about last week in regards to Standard 5, the who, what, when, where, and wherein, whereas Evidence Explained does. So that's why we don't just use the Chicago Manual of Style. Over the years, I've encountered people that say, why don't we use Chicago Manual of Style? And then I'll give them an example of, well, tell me how you would identify an affidavit of a neighbor inside a Civil War pension, because Chicago doesn't really help you do that with a sufficient specificity to allow you to actually find what you're looking for quickly. And that's part of the problem. So one would use Evidence Explained to deal with the who, what, when, where, and wherein, and use Chicago Manual of Style for the writing part. In other words, when do you indent? When do you use an N dash versus an M dash? How do you format your dates? So that's basically, in my mind, the difference between the two. Evidence Explained is for citation, which is not to say the Chicago Manual of Style is not for citation, but its use is for other things more than it is citation. I hope I haven't confused you too much. This is one of the good standards from the perspective of these are the 2 books you need to have, Evidence Explained or Evidence. If you're just starting out and you're not rich, then Evidence will do the trick for you. If you're intend to do this for the rest of your life, Evidence Explained is what you want to start with. Because eventually, if you do this a while, you're going to get Evidence Explained anyway. It's just the truth. You cannot be a genealogist if you do not own a copy of Evidence Explained. It's as simple as that. The number 1 criteria for being a genealogist, own Evidence Explained. If you don't own it, you have to question why you don't own it. It also is available as an electronic digital document. And I have one of those on my laptop so that when I'm traveling, I also have Evidence Explained with me wherever I go. So this has been Craig. This has been Just Genealogy, and we've been talking about format, standard number 6. All it does is tell us what books we ought to be using. And the truth of the matter is, we should be using them. So, subscribe, do something, but be safe. And I'll see you tomorrow.